Welcome, Fleshies, to the Boneyard Scribe, your place for tales that truly dig deep. Now you might think you know a thing or two about cemeteries. Peaceful, quiet, full of, well, folks who aren't quite as lively as they used to be. But what if I told you some places are more lively than others, especially after dark? Take Tad, for instance, a perfectly normal teenager who, like many before him, learned that some harmless fun can lead to a grave misunderstanding. Let's just say his night out was anything but dead boring. Get ready to find out why you should never, ever accept a dare involving an open mausoleum, or perhaps why some spirits are just dying for a bit of company. And now, brighter days. Tad is 14, and he's hanging out with his friends at their local cemetery, Extinction Grove Cemetery, a place that has a unique history, or at least that is what the people in this town will tell you. It focuses on a certain part of the cemetery where certain events unfold every night and every morning. But you'll find more about that a little later in this tale. The boys in the cemetery are just being boys and trying to scare each other. They come across the mausoleum. The mausoleum is old and made out of black marble, the type of place that just screams not to be messed with. And yet the doors to the place are wide open, exposing the insides to the world. They dare each other to walk inside the tomb. None of the boys would do it. But then, they dared Tad to enter into it. At first, he fights the peer pressure to go inside, but then he gives in. And it's too late to turn back. As long as the door is open and the light is coming in, our teen is brave, but his friends are snickering behind his back. As he turns around, the door closes. It's shut, compliments of his friends. He panics and screams to be let out. But the other boys don't even try to open it. They tell him to relax and that they'll be here in the morning, and they left him alone inside the tomb. Tad might have been okay if he had brought his phone with him, except he left it at his house. For a while, there was light coming in through the small windows near the top of the tomb. It won't be long, maybe another hour, and the sun will begin to set. Once it does go down, he'll be in the dark with no light coming into the mausoleum. Our teen will also be alone. All alone. Well, he'll be the only living soul in the stone building. The reality of being trapped hit him with a jolt of panic. He gasped for air, a tight knot forming in his stomach as he backed into a corner of the building. What will he think when the sun sets? He might just find himself with a bigger problem. Though he couldn't possibly know it now, he wasn't the only one who called the dark place home. Our teen may be locked inside, but so are they. and he would soon learn their company was far worse than the company of his friends. The sun finally sank into the west, pushing him into total darkness. The poor kid is now sitting alone in an enclosed place, and the knot in his stomach was made worse by fear. The tomb holds 10 bodies, and he's imagining himself being found in the morning, dead. He moved from the corner into the middle of the building, where he can be a little closer to the door. His anxiety feels like it's eating a hole in him. Despite his fear, despite his anxiety, he ends up falling asleep. At some point in the evening, he was woken by a voice that told him to get out. It was loud and spoken right into his ear. He even felt someone move past him. But how can that be when he is alone in here? He realizes that none of this is possible unless he isn't alone. He breaks down and begins to cry. A little later, he makes out the sounds of an argument, but it's coming from within the walls of the tomb. It's as if it's coming from the coffins. After a while, the noises stop, and he goes back to sleep, not because he isn't still afraid, but because he's just that tired. When he wakes up, there is sunlight coming in through the windows. On top of the light coming in through the window, the door to the tomb has been opened. Thinking that his friends must be out there, Tad walks out of the mausoleum and is greeted by a caretaker. The old man didn't look upset, which surprised the teen, because in any other situation, the man would be upset. "Friends put you up to this?" Tad said nothing, just nodded his head. The old man smiled, and it kind of creeped the boy out a bit. "I bet they were not happy, huh?" He chuckled at the end of the sentence. The caretaker knew that the teen wasn't alone inside the tomb. It's evident that the old man knew that the tomb was haunted. Sadly, though, Tad wasn't sure what the guy meant by they. Entirely, anyway. "Who wasn't happy?" the kid says as he looks back into the tomb and then looks at the old man. The old man pointed to the tomb with a look of delight on his face. "Everyone that works here knows about the ghost in the mausoleum," the man said. And he's right. Everyone who works here does know about the spooks. They know that the tomb is always unlocked in the morning, and they also know that around 7:30 a.m. the tomb is usually locked up again. But some have even mentioned seeing someone hanging out near the tomb in the morning, even though the gates are locked. Some of them will even tell you that they have heard voices coming from inside the mausoleum. Sometimes the language inside even gets a bit on the spicy side. "Now, young man, you had better get home and tell your friends not to do that again. They might get more than just a little scared." He walked home and then invited his friends over to retell his story. His friends and him gather around a bonfire. They were invited over to hear the story from their friend. He told them about the cold that ate through him while he sat in the tomb. They were told how hard it was to be inside the stone building after dark. Then he told them about the voices and the person who walked past him inside the mausoleum. They seemed to be shaken by that. And then you could see some fear in their eyes when he mentioned the voices telling him to leave. He wasn't done though, because he told them about the voices that were arguing over what to do with him. He knew that he wasn't welcome inside their resting place. His friends were not sure what to think of the story, but one thing is certain: he never changed his story, not once. As for Tad, he went into that tomb not believing in ghosts, but when he stepped out into the light, he could no longer deny it. He now knows that the dead can sometimes be found in places you might not think they should be, and can still lurk in places that they aren't supposed to be, and they can even be speaking or moving around. One thing he never told anyone is that he cried that night when he was curled up in the corner of the building. Only those who shared the tomb with him that night know for sure what happened. The man who spoke to him after he exited the mausoleum, that so-called caretaker, returned from whence he came, back to his resting place. Another thing the boy never knew is that the appearance of the caretaker was all part of the plan to get him out of their place. Nowadays, the story gets told around campfires, at the request of his children and their children. I even think those in the mausoleum told that story as well. The end. Well, Fleshies, that concludes our latest journey into the hallowed grounds of Extinction Grove Cemetery. I hope Tad's tale didn't leave you feeling too gravely disturbed, though a good shiver down the spine is always a sign of a truly spirited story. For now, I have to rest in peace, but fear not. We'll be digging up more spine-tingling stories soon enough. And if you're wondering where our usual guide, Nature Guy X46, might be, let's just say he's currently on some very deep research, unearthing new material from a place some folks prefer to keep buried. Until next time, keep the lights on and your doors locked. Goodbye, and try not to get too ghosted by our next read. Goodbye, Fleshies. Pleasant nightmares, everyone.